Okay, we're continuing in Shar Nekudim Per Gimel. Vaven Milas Melucha. Now understand the word of Melucha. Why? Ke mamash elu yud malachim de mesu v'nishbru keleim v'gufam. Because this is mamash the bechina of the yud malachim, the 10 malachim that died, and they also their kelim and their bodies, kivyachol, their body, which is bechina of kelim, broke. And the reason is because they did not come out with the bechina of zahar and akeva, of male and female, as we spoke about before, the tipei zera that came out of Yosef HaTzadik, out of his nails. Because the problem also with that was was that it came out zahar without akeva. That's dinya shvichas levatala. In short, is that there's oros, very strong, big oros that are coming out of a person's body with a zahar without an akeva. So that's why these tipin that came out of Yosef HaTzadik, out of his nails, became they were lavush for the asari, the neshama of the asari lugei malchus, and it was and they also had to die in a very difficult way. Ad sheba melech hadar haches ve'az nitkan, until the 8th melech, the 8th king that's mentioned in the Chumash comes, and then they start being fixed. And we're going to learn about that in the next shar of Shar Vudim, where the Oros HaMak come out of the Metzach and start being metaken the Olam HaNekudim. Zeu gam ken sod ma she'amru b'Maseches Shavuos, and this is also the secret of what it says in the Maseches Shavuos. Mi she'amru lo ishto b'shas tashmish nitmesi, a person who his wife tells him in the middle of having relations, his wife says that I became tama. Yinutz tzipone raglav b'karka, v'azer yotze derech tzipone, v'yifrosh be'ever meis. So the halacha is, if a man's wife tells him that she became tama in the middle of tashmish while they're in the middle of having relations, what he must do is he must put his toenails, like the fingernails of his toes, into the ground, into the bed, wherever he is. And he should rest himself. He should put pressure on his toenails, and rest himself on his toenails, and then the koach of it says here the zera will come out of the tzipornai. I think it's a little bit different girsa. And the Beis Lachem Yehuda says that the heat of the person, of his body, will go out through his toenails, and then he'll be able to be parish be'ever meis. He'll be able to go out with an ever meis without kishui, because if there's kishui, then there's pleasure, and if there's pleasure, then he's getting pleasure from his wife when she's in nida, and that's an isur. So he must go out when there's no pleasure, when the aver is already mace. V'inei ha'avolim ha'ru'im le'ilu shiva malachim lo yotzu rak derech tzipornaim shel raglayim. Now the havolim, that's the or, the inyan of the light that's fitting to come to these lower 7 malachim which broke, came only through the tzipornaim of the raglayim, the toenails of Adam Kadmon. Ve'az ve'af al pi she'tzipornaim hamasar. Now, even though the tzipornaim, the toenails, are 10, and the oros of nekudim that are receiving this are only 7. V'nekudos v'malachim shenishbru einam rak shiva tachtonos bilvad kanizkar. Leil hainin hu, the idea is like this: Ki gam yesh beis achorayim shel abba v'ima shenishbru v'rem tes b'chinos v'asiris hi gam min hakeser hayaktsas ki gam min hakeser hayaktsas p'gam kmo she'izbar lekam b'ez Hashem. Now the idea, the reason why there are 10 toenails that are shining too, only 7 oros, is that really they're not just 7 oros. There's another 3 that are adding, that are joining in, and those are the two backs of Abba and Ima that fell, that we're going to learn about more in detail, and also the bottom of the back of Keser that also fell. So each one of these 7 plus 3 oros receive one of the oros from the tzipor 9, one of the volume of the tzipor 9. of Adam Kadmon. V'nei b'chinas hanei shelo nichnasu v'ayu b'sod mochin labavim, and that the b'china of nehi of his b'china came in and became mochin of abanima. V'hegam hem nishbru, and also they broke. We're talking about the keser. The b'china of the nehi of keser also went into abanima, and also they broke with abanima as abanima fell. And now that makes up 10. Again, it's the 7 lower spheres of Nakudim, plus a bit of the upper 3 spheres, the backs of abanima, and the bottom of the back of the nehi of the back of the nehi of keser. V'chol b'chinos yitzias ilu asar avalim derech hatziponaim hay lesibos chesaron kabbalosam meor ha'ozen ha'elyon k'nizka lamala. And the whole reason why the light here came out of the tziponaim, which is a much lower place than the other oros, which is the tibur and pir yesod, is because the lower oros did not receive from ozen ha'elyon, as mentioned above. V'siba zos garma l'kol zeh v'lebitlo malachim gamken. And this reason, the siba of not receiving from the oros ha'ozen ha'elyon, caused all of the bittul malachim, and also all these bechinas that we see here, that the lower oros are receiving only from the toenails instead of also from the piyat tibur and piyat yesod. So again, we're just saying that the reason for the shviras hakelim actually happened because all of the oros did not receive from oros ha'ozen. As we already described, we explained this whole process in the past. Now we're going to go back up and we're going to explain. We already explained that the nakudos are divided into 3 groups. Elyonim, ala osios, k'mo cholam. Those nakudos that are on top of the osios, like on top of the cholam, like the cholam, which is on top of the vav, on top of any os, it makes the o sound. Ube'emtza k'mo shuruk, and in the middle, the nakudos that go in the middle, like the shuruk. It's in fact, I think the only one that does go in the middle. Maybe also the dagesh. I don't know if that's called. In any case, here we don't count. We're not counting it. The dagesh, the shuruk goes in the middle. Ube'tachtonim k'mo shar nakudos, and the ones that go underneath the osios, like all the rest of the nakudos. So these are the 3 divisions: the nakudos that are on top of the os, in the middle of the os, and on the bottom of the os. Now the actual makeup of the hevel that comes out of the tibur is the inyan of the nakuda of cholam. Asher sham omer keser kinizkar, and there in the tibur is where the keser is. If you say keser, iu cholam al tiferes kanora, because keser is the cholam on the tiferes. Ki ikar cholam b'tiferes d'adam kadmon, and the main inyan of cholam is in the tiferes of adam kadmon. Omnam nasa keser l'nakudim, and here it makes keser of nakudim. So cholam is in tiferes when we're talking about adam kadmon. When we're talking about nakudim, it already becomes to be keser. Now in general, we see that in this principle, this basic yesod of keser, of tiferes, turning into keser in almost every single partzuf. We have a principle that the partzuf above is always nislavish in the partzuf below, and the method is the netzachod yesod is nislavish inside all of the spheres of the lower partzuf, and the tiferes, usually the bottom third of the tiferes of the upper partzuf, is nislavish inside keser of the lower partzuf. That we see in Zerapin, that we see in other places. This type of islavish is from one olam to the next, and here we have Adam Kadmon being Islamish inside of Nakudim, very much like the later Islamshios that we're going to see later on, which have this exact form. You could see on the some of the other shiurim that I made the videos. So there, like you could see it in a visual a visual show of how all of the spheres of one parsif are mislabish inside the next parsif. We see it by the upper spheres and lower spheres of Abba and Ima, and we see it by Abba and Ima how they're mislabish, Suras Avantuna how they're mislabish inside of Zerampim. Okay, V'zesha amur b'tikunim tikun hei, ki cholam iu keser be'atvan kanoda. And this is what the Tikkun Zohar says, that the cholam is keser in the osios, by the osios. V'nikud shurk, b'vav shenikra malupum, shu emtzai, and the nikud of shurk, which is the dot inside the vav, is called malupum sometimes. Shehu emtzai, it is inside it's inside the osios. Hu hevel hayotza min yesod shel Abba v'Ima. It is the hevel that comes out of the yesod of Adam Kaplon into Abba v'Ima. V'nechlek l'shnayim, it's divided into two. As we said before, that the hevel of the yesod is divided into two. It goes both to Abba and to Ima. One part to Abba, one part to Ima. And here we're going to describe the division, how it's divided from Abba into Abba and Ima. Kinei nekudas hashuruk hi vav v'yud be'emtza, because the nekuda of the shuruk is a vav, and the yud is be'emtza, meaning the nekuda of shuruk is made up of a vav and a dot in the middle. And this dot is, we're calling it a bechina of a yud in the middle. So we have a vav and a yud. V'yud shel shuruk hu la'aba nikra yud rishona shel Hashem, and the yud, the dot inside the vav goes, which is again the makeup of the shuruk. Shuruk is really only when we have a vav. We can't have a shuruk with another letter. Hey with a dot in the middle, it doesn't say hu. A shin with a dot in the middle doesn't say shu. To do that you need the three dots on the bottom. I forgot the name of that nakuda. There's the one was a segel. There's a shuruk. Can't remember. In any case, so now Abba represents, when we take the four letters of the Shema of Avaya, so Abba represents the Yud, Ima represents the first Hey, Zerampin represents the Vav, and Malchus Nukva represents the last Hey. So here we're saying that Abba represents the first Hey. That's why Abba is going to now receive the part of the Hevel of the Yesod, which is the part of the Yud. Because we said there are two parts of the Hevel of the Yesod of Adam Kama, and that's the part of it's the Yud and the Vav. The Yud goes to Abba, because Abba is more connected to the Inyan of Yud, because we see that when we take the four lower Patsufim and then we divide them into the Shemus of Avaya, we get Abba connecting to Yud. And the Vav, Shebashur Kila Ima, and the Vav of the Shur goes to Ima. Why? In order to be motzi and to be molid, to create the vav k'tzavos of zah, v'zeu b'chinas vav zu shelakachas ima. And the idea of the vav that the ima is taking relates to the zerampim. We see that ima gives birth to zerampim, and that is the b'china of the vav that ima is taking. So ima also relates to the vav in the sense that she gives birth to him, and that's the vav that she's taking here in order to give birth to Zerampim. And also another reason, explanation of this division of the Yud going to Abba and the Vav going to Ima. Ki nakuda shahir ke'in Yud shebashuruk kenakuda. She ke'in Yud shebashuruk hi oser elyon. Another reason is that the nakuda, which is like the Yud and the Shuruk, which is the Vav, the dot next to the Vav, that's a higher bechina, because it's a Yud. Umene yotze Abba de nakudim. And that, and from there, Abba is yonik. Abba of Nukudim is yonik from that bechina, because it's a higher bechina. Vavav shel hashuruk shios echas, vavav shel hashuruk shios echas, v'mene yonekas ima de Nukudim. And from the vav, which is a lower bechina, ima of Nukudim takes, because again, she's a lower bechina, kanoda. Ki nekudos chachma ve'atvan bina. Because nekudos are bechina of chachma, which again is the nekuda, the dot. So the way he's dividing it here now is that the vav is a letter, by all Nakudas, really there are no letters. Just we only find a letter by the Nakud of Shuk, because the Nakud of Shuk has to be attached to a letter, the letter Vav. So the letter is, the Ravs here is saying, Ke Nakudus Chachma Va'atvan Bina. The Tikkun Zohar says that Nakudas are connected to, inherently relates to Chachma, and the letters relate to Bina. So the Nakudas, it's the Nakuda of this Nakuda here, which is the dot, is going to go to Abba, which is Chachma, and the letter, which is Vav, is going to go to Bina, which is Ima. Shiva Nakudos. So here we have two reasons why Abba takes the Yud or the dot, and Ima takes the Vav. One is because the Yud relates to Abba in the Shem Havaya, and the second reason and the Vav relates to the Ima in the Shem Havaya, in a sense, because she gives birth to the Zerampin. And the second reason is that in general Nakudas relate to Abba, when the Nakuda here is the dot, and the Osios relate to Ima, and here this Shuk has an Os attached to it, which is a Vav, and it goes to Bin. And the seven Nakudos Atachtonos, the seven lower Nakudos, with three Bechina Rishonos Shalnei Dekeser, with the three upper Bechinas of Nei Dekeser, the Beis HaChoim Daber Ima, and the two backs of Abba Ima, which is 10. We made up 7 lower spheres, plus the back of the Indian of Keser, plus the backs of Abba Ima. And these are now relate to the 10 of the 10 Bechinas of the Nakudim that broke, relate to the 10 and receive from the 10 Tzipor Reglaim of Adam Kadmon. And we don't mean to say that these are the Nakudas themselves. So we don't mean to say that these Nakudas, this or, they came out of the Tzipornei Reglaim of Adam Kadmon are the Nakudas, because we see that we know that Nakudim is the Nakudas. The Nakudim are the Nakudas that are the ors that came out of the eyes. Rather, what we mean to say here about the 10 Tzipornei Reglaim, relating to the 10 ors of the Nakudim, is actually kol ha'avolim ha'elu yotzu or el asar nakudim sheyotzu derech ayin kanal v'zochaze. Rather, what we're saying here is that we're saying that the 10 Tzipornei Reglaim of Adam Kadmon is not the ors of Nakudim. Rather, it's meir to the ors of Nakudim, and it shines to the bechinos, to the ors that are standing from the from tabor, from beneath the tabor, from underneath Abba and Ima of Nakudim and down.